Her mother-in-law locked her in a shed, but the wedding night changed everything. The wedding dress was supposed to be white, but now it was stained with dirt and tears. Paloma's hands trembled as she pounded on the wooden door of the garden shed, her voice hoarse from screaming for help. Outside, she could hear the wedding reception continuing without her. Laughter, music, and the clinking of champagne glasses celebrating a bride who had mysteriously disappeared. "Please," she sobbed, her knuckles raw from beating against the door. "Someone help me." But the only person who knew where she was stood on the other side of that door, smiling coldly in the darkness. Lily Harrison, her new mother-in-law, had made sure of that. What Lily didn't know was that this wedding night would change everything, but not in the way she had planned. Before we continue, have you subscribed yet? Hit that button for more amazing stories and mark the register by commenting which country you're watching from. Today's shout out goes to Marcy Evelyn, watching from Florida. Thank you for watching and commenting. Now buckle up, because this story, it's about to get real. 3 months earlier, Paloma Rivera had thought she was living in a fairy tale. She was engaged to Michael Harrison, the son of one of the wealthiest families in the state. Michael was handsome, charming, and seemed to adore her. The problem was his mother. Lily Harrison made it clear from the moment they met that Paloma wasn't good enough for her precious son. During their first dinner together, Lily had looked Paloma up and down with obvious disdain. "So you're a teacher," Lily had said, her voice dripping with condescension. "How quaint. Michael, darling, remember when you used to date that lovely doctor? What was her name? Sarah?" Michael had shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Mom, that was years ago. Such an accomplished young woman, from such a good family. Her father owns 3 hospitals, you know." Paloma had tried to smile politely. "Teaching is very rewarding work. I love helping children learn and grow." Lily's laugh was sharp and cold. "Oh, how noble, though I suppose not everyone can aspire to greatness." The insults continued throughout the engagement. Lily criticized Paloma's clothes, her family's modest background, her education, even her appearance. She made suggestions about plastic surgery, pointed out that Paloma's engagement ring was smaller than her friends' rings, and constantly reminded her that she was lucky to be marrying into such a prestigious family. Michael seemed oblivious to his mother's cruelty, or perhaps he simply chose to ignore it. Whenever Paloma tried to bring it up, he would brush off her concerns. "Mom's just protective," he would say. "She'll warm up to you eventually. You're being too sensitive." But Paloma wasn't being sensitive. She was being systematically torn down by a woman who saw her as a threat to her perfect family image. The wedding planning was a nightmare. Lily took over every detail, dismissing Paloma's preferences and making decisions without consulting her. When Paloma wanted a simple ceremony in her family's church, Lily insisted on an elaborate affair at the country club. When Paloma chose modest flowers, Lily replaced them with ostentatious arrangements that cost more than Paloma's parents made in a month. "This is the Harrison family wedding," Lily had said when Paloma tried to protest. "We have a reputation to maintain. People will judge us based on every detail." Paloma's parents, Maria and Carlos Rivera, were hard-working people who had immigrated from Mexico and built a small but successful landscaping business. They were kind, generous, and loved their daughter deeply. But they were intimidated by the Harrison family's wealth and status. They encouraged Paloma to go along with Lily's demands to keep the peace. "She's going to be your family now, mija," her mother had said gently. "Try to make the best of it." But as the wedding day approached, Lily's behavior became increasingly erratic and hostile. She made cutting remarks about Paloma's family, criticized her appearance constantly, and even tried to convince Michael that they should postpone the wedding. "Are you sure about this, darling?" she had said during the rehearsal dinner, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Marriage is such a big step. You're still so young, and there are so many other options out there." Michael had laughed it off, but Paloma saw the uncertainty in his eyes. She began to wonder if she was making a terrible mistake. The morning of the wedding, Paloma woke up in the bridal suite at the Harrison estate with a sense of impending doom. She had barely slept, her mind racing with doubts and fears about what her life would be like as Lily's daughter-in-law. Her best friend and maid of honor, her cousin Sophia, tried to cheer her up as they got ready. "You look beautiful, Prima," Sophia said, helping Paloma into her wedding dress. "Michael is lucky to have you." "I don't know about that," Paloma murmured, staring at herself in the mirror. The dress was beautiful. Lily had insisted on the most expensive gown in the boutique, but Paloma felt like she was wearing a costume. "Are you having second thoughts?" Sophia asked gently. Before Paloma could answer, there was a sharp knock on the door. This time, it was Nathan, Michael's younger brother and best man. "Ladies, it's time," he said, poking his head into the room. "The ceremony is about to begin." Nathan was different from the rest of his family. Where Michael was charming but sometimes shallow, Nathan was thoughtful and kind. Where Lily was cold and calculating, Nathan was warm and genuine. He had always been nice to Paloma, defending her when his mother made snide comments and including her in family conversations when others ignored her. "You look beautiful, Paloma," he said with a genuine smile. "Michael's a lucky guy." Lily's expression soured. "Nathan, escort Paloma downstairs. I need to touch up my makeup." As Nathan offered Paloma her arm, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. She looked pale and shaken, nothing like the glowing bride she was supposed to be. "Are you okay?" Nathan asked quietly as they walked down the hallway. "I'm fine," she lied. But she wasn't fine. Lily's words echoed in her head as she walked down the aisle. Was Michael really having an affair? Had this entire relationship been a lie? As she looked at her groom waiting at the altar, handsome in his tuxedo, she searched his face for answers. The ceremony passed in a blur. Paloma said her vows, but the words felt hollow. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Michael's kiss was brief and perfunctory. She noticed that he avoided her eyes. The reception was everything Lily had wanted. Elegant, expensive, and impressive. The country club's ballroom was decorated with thousands of white roses and crystal chandeliers. The guests were a who's who of the city's elite, all dressed in designer clothes and dripping with jewelry. Paloma tried to play the part of the happy bride, smiling for photos and making small talk with guests she didn't know. But she felt like an actress in a play she hadn't auditioned for. During the dinner service, she noticed Michael checking his phone repeatedly. When she asked him about it, he brushed her off. "Just work stuff," he said, not meeting her eyes. "On our wedding day?" "The business doesn't stop just because we got married, Paloma. You'll need to understand that." His dismissive tone stung. This wasn't the man she had fallen in love with. The man who used to text her sweet messages throughout the day and surprise her with flowers just because. As the evening wore on, Michael became increasingly distant. He spent most of the reception mingling with business associates and old friends, leaving Paloma to sit alone at the head table. She watched him laugh and chat with Sarah Chambers, the doctor Lily had mentioned, and felt her heart break a little more. Nathan seemed to notice her distress. He appeared at her side during a lull in the festivities. "Want to get some air?" he asked. "It's pretty stuffy in here." Grateful for the excuse to escape, Paloma nodded. They walked out onto the country club's terrace where the night air was cool and refreshing. "You seem sad," Nathan observed gently. "On your wedding day? That's not a good sign." Paloma looked out at the manicured gardens, fighting back tears. "Your mother thinks this marriage is a mistake." Nathan was quiet for a moment. My mother thinks a lot of things. That doesn't make them true. She said Michael is having an affair. Nathan's expression darkened. She said what? With Sarah Chambers. She said they've been having lunch together, that he's been lying about working late. The words tumbled out of her before she could stop them. Nathan ran a hand through his hair, looking conflicted. Paloma, It's true, isn't it? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan's silence was answer enough. How long have you known? She asked. I suspected something a few weeks ago. I saw them together at a restaurant downtown, but I hoped I was wrong. Paloma felt like the ground was falling away from beneath her feet. Her worst fears were confirmed. She had married a man who was cheating on her, and his family had known about it. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. I should have, Nathan said, his voice full of regret. I'm sorry. I thought about it 100 times, but I kept hoping it would end, that Michael would come to his senses. I didn't want to hurt you. So you let me marry him instead. Nathan had no answer for that. They stood in silence for several minutes, the sounds of the party drifting out from the ballroom. Finally, Paloma spoke. I need to get back inside. People will notice I'm gone. But as they turned to go back in, Lily appeared in the doorway. Her face was flushed with anger, and she had clearly been drinking. There you are, she said, her voice sharp. Nathan, your brother is looking for you. Something about the best man's speech. Nathan looked between Paloma and his mother, clearly sensing the tension. I'll be right there. As Nathan disappeared inside, Lily stepped closer to Paloma. In the dim light of the terrace, her expression was almost menacing. Having second thoughts already? She asked mockingly. Smart girl, though it's a bit late now, isn't it? Why do you hate me so much? Paloma asked, surprising herself with her directness. Lily's smile was cold. I don't hate you, dear. I just know what's best for my family, and you're not it. Michael chose me, Paloma said, though the words felt hollow now. Did he, or did you just happen to be convenient? Lily moved closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. You're not the first, you know. Michael has always had a weakness for certain types of women. Pretty, naive, easy to impress. But he always comes back to his own kind eventually. The words were like poison, seeping into Paloma's already wounded heart. Sarah Chambers is his own kind. Educated, sophisticated, from a good family. They make sense together. You're just an embarrassment waiting to happen. Paloma felt tears threatening to spill over. Stop it! I'm trying to help you, Lily said, with mock concern. End this now, before you humiliate yourself further. Get an annulment. Disappear quietly. I'll even help you financially if you need it. I won't abandon my marriage, Paloma said, though her voice shook. Lily's expression hardened. Then you're more foolish than I thought. The rest of the reception passed in a haze of forced smiles and small talk. Paloma felt like she was drowning, surrounded by people celebrating a marriage that was already over. Michael continued to ignore her, and she noticed him disappearing outside several times to take phone calls. As the evening wound down and the guests began to leave, Paloma found herself feeling more alone than ever. She had been looking forward to finally having some time alone with her new husband, to talk about their future, and maybe recapture some of the connection they had lost during the stressful wedding planning. Instead, Michael seemed eager to avoid her. I need to make sure all the vendors are paid, he said when she approached him. You should go back to the bridal suite and get some rest. It's been a long day. I thought we could talk, she said, hopefully. About everything. About us. Michael's expression was distant. We can talk tomorrow. I have some business to take care of first. Business. On their wedding night. Paloma felt her heart break a little more. As the last guests departed and the staff began cleaning up, Paloma found herself alone in the empty ballroom. The beautiful decorations that had seemed so magical earlier now looked like the remnants of a performance, hollow and artificial. She walked outside to the gardens, needing fresh air and space to think. The night was quiet, except for the distant sound of traffic and the rustle of leaves in the breeze. That's when she heard voices coming from the parking area. She recognized Michael's laugh immediately, followed by a woman's voice. Curious and dreading what she might find, Paloma crept closer. Through the shadows, she could see Michael standing next to his car with Sarah Chambers. They were standing very close together, and as Paloma watched in horror, Michael leaned down and kissed her. "I can't wait much longer," Sarah was saying. "This charade is getting ridiculous." "I know," Michael replied, "but I need to be careful. The prenup protects most of my assets, but I still need to make sure everything is handled properly." "You could have just called off the wedding," Sarah said. Michael laughed bitterly. "You don't know my mother. She insisted I go through with it, something about maintaining appearances and not embarrassing the family, but she assured me that it won't be a problem long term." "What do you mean?" "Let's just say that marriages can end for many reasons. Sometimes people just disappear." The coldness in his voice made Paloma's blood run cold. What did he mean by disappear? Before she could hear more, a hand grabbed her arm roughly. She spun around to find Lily standing behind her, her face twisted with rage. "Eavesdropping, dear. How very inappropriate." "Let go of me," Paloma whispered, trying to pull away. But Lily's grip was surprisingly strong for a woman in her 50s. "I think you've seen quite enough for one evening." She began pulling Paloma away from the parking area toward the back of the property where the maintenance buildings were located. "Where are you taking me?" Paloma asked, panic rising in her voice. "Somewhere quiet where we can have a proper conversation." They reached a small wooden shed that was used to store gardening equipment. Lily produced a key from her purse and unlocked the door. "Get inside," she ordered. "I'm not going in there," Paloma said, finally finding her courage. "Oh, yes, you are." Lily's voice was deadly calm. "You see, dear, you've become a problem that needs to be solved, and I always solve my problems." Before Paloma could react, Lily shoved her hard backward. Paloma stumbled backward into the dark shed, tripping over a lawnmower and falling to the ground. The wedding dress that had cost thousands of dollars was now torn and dirty. The door slammed shut, and Paloma heard the key turn in the lock. "Lily!" she screamed, scrambling to her feet and pounding on the door. "Let me out!" "I'm afraid that's not going to happen," came Lily's muffled voice from outside. "You see, accidents happen at weddings all the time. People drink too much, they wander off, they get confused, sometimes they fall into ponds or get lost in the woods. Very tragic." Paloma's blood turned to ice. "You're crazy." "I'm practical. Michael's marriage to you was a mistake that needs to be corrected. Don't worry, dear, it will all be over soon. Michael will be devastated, of course, but Sarah will be there to comfort him. They'll marry within a year, and everyone will remember you as the tragic bride who died on her wedding night." "People will look for me," Paloma shouted. "Will they? You're just a teacher from a poor family. No one important will miss you. And Michael will inherit everything cleanly, with no messy divorce proceedings." Paloma heard steps moving away from the shed. She was alone in the darkness, trapped with no way out. The small building had no windows, and the door was solid wood with heavy hinges. She tried throwing her weight against it, but it didn't budge. Hours passed. Paloma's throat was raw from screaming for help, and her hands were bloody from clawing at the door. She had searched every inch of the shed looking for another way out, but there was none. That's when she heard something that made her heart leap. Footsteps, approaching the shed. "Help!" she screamed with what little voice she had left. "I'm in here! Help me!" The footsteps stopped right outside the door. "Paloma? Is that you?" came a familiar voice. It was Nathan. "Nathan! Thank God! I'm locked in here. Your mother!" "I know," he said grimly. "I've been looking for you for hours. Hold on." She heard him working at the lock, and after what felt like an eternity, the door swung open. Nathan stood silhouetted in the doorway, holding a flashlight and looking furious. "Are you hurt?" he asked, helping her to her feet. "I'm okay," she said, though she was trembling with relief and shock. "How did you find me?" "I saw my mother coming from this direction earlier, and she was acting strange. When I couldn't find you anywhere, I started searching the grounds." His expression darkened. "She locked you in here, didn't she?" Paloma nodded, unable to speak. The reality of what had almost happened was beginning to sink in. "We need to call the police," Nathan said. "No," Paloma said quickly. "Not yet. There's something else you need to know." She told him about seeing Michael with Sarah, about their conversation and the implications of what they had said. Nathan's face grew darker with each word. "I knew he was cheating, but this is something else entirely. Your mother said that marriages can end for many reasons, that sometimes people just disappear. I think they were planning to get rid of me permanently." Nathan was quiet for a long moment, processing the implications. "We need evidence," he said finally. "If we're going to expose them, we need proof. The plan." What happened next would go down in local history as one of the most dramatic wedding night revelations ever recorded. Nathan had always been the smart one in the family, the one who thought things through carefully. Unlike his impulsive brother, Nathan was methodical and strategic. "Here's what we're going to do," he told Paloma as they sat in his car, far from the country club. "We're going to give them exactly what they want, up to a point." He explained his plan. It was risky, but it was their only chance to get justice and expose the truth. First, they drove to Nathan's apartment, where Paloma could clean up and change clothes. Nathan gave her some of his clothes to wear, jeans and a sweater that were too big for her, but at least clean and comfortable. "I'm going to call Michael and tell him I can't find you anywhere," Nathan said. "I'll say I'm worried that something happened to you. Let's see how he reacts." Nathan made the call while Paloma listened. Michael's response was telling. "She probably just went home," Michael said dismissively. "She was upset about something earlier. Don't worry about it." "Mike, it's your wedding night," Nathan said. "Aren't you concerned that your wife is missing?" There was a pause. "She's probably just being dramatic. You know how emotional women get." Nathan caught Paloma's eye and shook his head in disgust. "I'm going to keep looking for her. I'll call you if I find anything." "Whatever. I'm busy right now." Nathan hung up. "He doesn't care that you're missing on your wedding night." The next part of the plan required some preparation. Nathan had a friend who worked in private security, someone who owed him a favor. Within an hour, they had access to professional recording equipment and a plan to get the evidence they needed. The next morning, Nathan called his mother and asked her to meet him at the family estate. He told her he had found Paloma and that there had been an accident. "What kind of accident?" Lily asked, her voice carefully neutral. "She fell into the pond," Nathan said. "I found her this morning. She's gone, Mom." There was a long pause. When Lily spoke again, her voice was different, relieved, almost excited. "Oh, how terrible," she said, but there was no grief in her tone. "The poor dear. I suppose we should call the authorities." "I wanted to talk to you first," Nathan said. "There are things we need to discuss." They arranged to meet at the estate within an hour. Nathan and Paloma arrived early and set up the recording equipment in the living room where they had planned to have their conversation. Paloma hid upstairs, listening through a baby monitor that Nathan had rigged up. She felt sick to her stomach, but she knew this was their only chance to get the truth. Lily arrived exactly on time, dressed in black as if she were already in mourning, but her expression was anything but sad. "Where is she?" was the first thing she asked. "Still in the pond," Nathan said. "I haven't called anyone yet." Lily nodded approvingly. "Good. We need to think about how to handle this properly. The family's reputation is at stake." "Is it?" Nathan asked carefully. "I mean, accidents happen, right?" Lily sat down on the sofa, looking more relaxed than Nathan had seen her in months. "Exactly. Tragic accidents. Sometimes people wander off after drinking too much at weddings. They get disoriented, they fall into water, and they drown before anyone can help them." "But she wasn't drunk," Nathan said. "Wasn't she?" Lily smiled coldly. "Who's to say? The poor girl was obviously distraught about something. Depression, perhaps. New brides often have emotional breakdowns. It's more common than people think." Nathan felt sick listening to his mother calmly planning how to cover up what she thought was Paloma's death. "What about Michael?" he asked. "Michael will be devastated, naturally, but he's young. He'll recover. And Sarah Chambers has been so supportive during this difficult time. Such a lovely girl. Perfect for our family." "So you knew about the affair?" Lily waved her hand dismissively. "Of course I knew. I encouraged it. That marriage was a mistake from the beginning. This just corrects the situation." "By committing murder?" The words hung in the air like a poison cloud. Lily's expression hardened. "Don't be so dramatic, Nathan. I didn't touch her. If she's dead, it's because she was careless. Accidents happen." "But you locked her in the gardening shed," Nathan said quietly. She went very still. "What did you say?" "I know what you did, Mom. I know you locked Paloma in the gardening shed and left her there to die." For a moment, Lily looked genuinely surprised. Then her expression shifted to something Nathan had never seen before. Pure, cold calculation. "Prove it," she said simply. "I don't have to, because she's not dead." Before Lily could react, Paloma walked down the stairs and into the living room. She was wearing Nathan's clothes, her hair was still disheveled from the night before, and she looked like she had been through hell, but she was very much alive. Lily's face went white. "That's impossible." "Your son saved my life," Paloma said quietly. "The good one." Lily looked back and forth between them, her mind clearly racing. "You have no proof of anything. It's your word against mine." Nathan smiled grimly and held up a small recording device. "Actually, we have your entire confession, including the part where you admitted to knowing about Michael's affair and encouraging it." Lily lunged for the recorder, but Nathan was ready for her. He pulled it away and tossed it to Paloma, who caught it and backed toward the door. "You little witch! You've ruined everything!" Lily snarled, her composure finally cracking. "No," Paloma said firmly. "You ruined everything. I just survived it." What happened next moved quickly. Nathan called the police while Paloma played the recording to the detective who responded to our call. The recording contained not only Lily's confession to attempted murder, but also her admission that she knew about and encouraged Michael's affair. Michael was arrested at Sarah Chambers' apartment, where he had spent his wedding night. The look on his face when he saw Paloma alive was something she would never forget. Not relief or joy, but pure terror. The scandal made headlines throughout the state. "Mother-in-law attempts murder on wedding night" was the front page story in 3 major newspapers. The details were so shocking that national news outlets picked up the story. Lily Harrison was charged with attempted murder, false imprisonment, and conspiracy. She hired the best lawyers money could buy, but the recording was damning evidence. She was eventually sentenced to 15 years in prison. Michael was charged with conspiracy and insurance fraud. Investigators discovered that he had recently increased his life insurance policy with Paloma as the beneficiary, but with a clause that would transfer the money to him if she died within the first year of marriage. He received 10 years in prison. Sarah Chambers lost her medical license due to the scandal and her involvement in the conspiracy. She disappeared from public view entirely. The marriage was annulled immediately. Paloma kept nothing from her brief time as Mrs. Harrison. She wanted no reminders of the nightmare she had barely survived. But the real justice came in ways that went beyond prison sentences. The Harrison family's reputation was destroyed completely. Their country club membership was revoked. Their business contacts dried up overnight. The family fortune built over generations began to crumble as legal fees mounted and business deals fell through. Paloma, meanwhile, discovered that surviving a near-death experience had given her a clarity and strength she had never possessed before. She realized that she had been so focused on trying to fit into the Harrison family's world that she had forgotten who she really was. She returned to teaching with a new appreciation for her work and her students. She also began speaking publicly about domestic violence and psychological manipulation, helping other women recognize the warning signs she had missed. Nathan, the only member of his family who had shown any decency, inherited nothing but debt and scandal. But he didn't seem to mind. He had done the right thing, and that was worth more to him than money or social status. "I'm sorry you had to go through all that," he told Paloma a few months after the trials ended. "My family is toxic. You deserved so much better." "I got something better," Paloma replied. "I got my life back." Nathan smiled. "What will you do now?" "Live," she said simply. "Really live, not just exist. I'm going to travel, maybe write a book about this experience. I want to help other women who are trapped in situations like mine." "That sounds perfect," Nathan said. "You know, if you ever need anything..." "Thank you,"